This quadratic inequality is already in standard form. You do not have any fractions. The leading coefficient is positive, and you have 0 on the right. So I need to find the critical numbers. You find the critical numbers by setting the quadratic equal to 0 and solving either by factoring or quadratic formula. Remember, quadratic formula always works, but if I can easily factor it, then I do that. X plus 3, x plus 2 equals 0. Is that right? Yes. That gives me x equal negative 3 and x equal negative 2 as my critical numbers. The next thing I do, I draw a number line and I put my critical numbers, make sure you put them in the correct order, on the number line. And now what I want to do is test each interval. Doesn't matter what order you go in. 0 would be in this interval. I always choose 0 if I can, because 0 is so easy to plug in. Okay, and you're plugging it in here. Actually, I'm going to plug it in the factored form. It makes it easier if you do that. X plus 3, x plus 2 greater than 0. All right, I do not care what number it gives me when I plug 0 in. I'm only concerned about the sign. If you plug a 0 here, that's 0 plus 3, that's positive. Put a positive sign right there. Plug a 0 in x plus 2, and that's also positive. What is a positive times a positive? It's a positive. Any number you choose to the right of negative 2 and substitute it in here, it's going to give you a positive number. All right, now let's check this middle number. Let's check the in between negative 3 and negative 2. And I'm going to choose negative 2.5. Negative 2.5 is my number. If you plug negative 2.5 in that first factor, negative 2.5 plus 3, negative 2.5 plus 3, that's positive. If you plug a negative 2.5 in that second factor, negative 2.5 plus 2, that's negative. What's a positive times a negative? It's a negative. And I would stop now, but just for us to practice, I'm going to choose negative 4 from this range here. Negative 4. If I plug negative 4 in there, negative 4 plus 3 is negative. Negative 4 plus 2, negative 4 plus 2 is negative. Negative times a negative is a positive. All right, now I need to go back and look at my standard form and determine if I want positive intervals or negative. Greater than 0, what kind of numbers I'm looking for? I'm looking for positive. I'm looking for any value of x that makes this x squared plus 5x plus 6 greater than 0. So where are my intervals positive? Here and here. That's our solution. So if I write that in interval notation, look at your number line, read your number line from left to right. So that's negative infinity to negative 3. It's always a parenthesis on infinity. And since I do not have greater than or equal to, it will be a parenthesis there. And then the union symbol, this is just a connector. Negative 2, and this goes up to positive infinity. So there's your solution. Okay, let's do another one. All right, now that one, number 2, is not in standard form. A couple things are wrong. I'll take this step at a time. Negative 6x squared plus 30x minus 10 minus 14 greater than or equal to 0. So at least now I have my 0 on the right. But the other problem is we don't want a negative coefficient. It looks to me like all these numbers are divisible by 6. So let's divide everything by negative 6, every term on both sides. So that gives me x squared minus 5x plus 4. Now what happens when you divide an inequality by a negative number? Do you remember? You have to reverse the inequality symbol. So this is my standard form. Okay? Now, I've lucked up in that to find my critical numbers, I set x squared minus 5x plus 4 equal to 0, and I lucked up because that will factor. But if it didn't, you'd have to use a quadratic formula. And that's going to be a -4 and a -1. So my critical numbers are x equal 4, x equal 1. Those are my critical numbers. So now what I do, I draw a number line, and I put my critical numbers on here, 1 and 4. And I want to check them now to see if the intervals give me positive numbers or negative intervals. So I'm going to take 0, which is in this far left interval, and plug it in the factored form of this. So that's x minus 4, x minus 1, less than or equal to 0. All right, so take 0. If you plug a 0 in that first factor, it gives me a negative. 0 on that one, it gives me a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, what number do y'all want to choose between 1 and 4? Let's choose 2.